Welcome to the episode, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 6 of the Business Talk podcast. Today we have Michael Grant, who I met a couple weeks ago at a networking event here in Murfreesboro. He does bookkeeping for small business owners, and I want to kind of hear more about you. So tell everyone about yourself, how you got started, and what you do.
I'm Michael Gant. I've been doing bookkeeping for a little while now, and aside from bookkeeping, even before I opened up my own practice, I managed a portion of a multi-million-dollar organization and was very successful with that. And the way I found success was actually through proper understanding of the financial aspects of the business and being able to use that to actually grow my business the way I wanted it to grow. And so when I started up, my bookkeeping practice, that was one of the things that I really enjoyed and enjoyed teaching others how to understand it and how it works so that they could grow their business as well. So in what I do, I work with a whole lot of different clients just because I love business. So I don't really, step down to one section or another. I work with, retail, food industry, nonprofit, manufacturing, hospitality, you name it. And I've probably touched the books there some way or another. So.
That's good, man. Um, what made you get into it? Like, why'd you start bookkeeping of all things?
So, book getting into bookkeeping itself, I'd say the short answer would really be that I, when I was running that multi-million dollar portion of the organization, like I said, I realized that the finances were really where you could understand your business. You could know your business. And if you don't know your business, you're never going to grow or grow to the potential that you have. And as I looked out into what I wanted to do with my future, I realized that, bookkeeping was really that organization, that attention to detail, the understanding of the financial statements, but also helping others who may have not had the opportunity to get training or practice in that aspect. Help them be able to grow and understand it so that they can then progress in what they want to progress in. Um, I charge for the work that I do in your books. If we have a conversation about what's going on, or if I do a diagnostic, that's free. That's something I just enjoy doing and being able to pass on that knowledge to other entrepreneurs, other business owners.
I like how you mentioned that you do that kind of stuff for free, and I think that's very um, important that you can run diagnostics and help out people for free because I even catch myself doing that sometimes. Like yesterday, I had a couple calls where I was just basically diagnosing problems and helping people solve them, and I think that right there is like what allows me personally to go to sleep at night knowing that I made a difference. For even like the little guy, the guy that can't afford to run a marketing campaign. And
Right.
I think that's very important. So what like inspires you to give people value? Why do you give people value? Like what kind of psychological benefit do you get from it?
I I don't know if it's necessarily like a psychological benefit. I'm sure it could be considered that in some ways. Um, the reason why I offer free diagnostics and I work with people for free, spitballing ideas to help them be more efficient in their financial understanding and organization for their business is I just really enjoy it. I actually have a lot of passion for it. And in my previous occupation, I trained a lot of different people on how to understand and organize their financial their financial picture so that they could use that as a tool. And it was something I was known for in the organization, for knowing my business through the finances, through the numbers. So in doing that, I get to have fun talking business, learning a new industry maybe, or helping somebody grow. And they also get to get the information or a little bit of training on one aspect they didn't quite understand or didn't have a good grasp on yet, and allows them to grow. So it's almost mutually beneficial in the fact that I enjoy it and it helps them too.
I think that you give this value to other people. And I think you kind of hit the nail when you said that you enjoy giving the value because you get the opportunity to learn.
Yes.
Um, how has that helped you out in your entrepreneurial journey?
It has helped out, tenfold realistically, because I come at it from an approach of support and this drive to know more, to want to know more. And the different views, the different things that I get to see make me better in my craft. But in that, I also get to add value, give that value to somebody that I'm talking to. And later on down the road, we might do business. Or maybe they call me up again and they need something else. Or maybe their services is something that I need or somebody else that I know needs, and I can get them connected. It really helps with building the networking and the relationships with fellow entrepreneurs and business owners. And really, I do a lot of conversating with other CPAs and bookkeepers as well. Because it's other bookkeepers and CPAs aren't really competition to each other. A lot of us niche down into different aspects, like somebody would only do nonprofits or somebody would only work with lawyers or so forth. Um, and so there's a lot of business to go around as far as helping entrepreneurs and businesses with their books, and being able to network and get to know a lot of these other bookkeepers. For me, it was a networking and a training ability, and I have seen it turn into, almost a client opportunity in some ways, because, maybe this bookkeeper doesn't want to do this kind of account, and it's something that I do already, so they can refer me, or even vice versa, where I don't want to touch a specific kind of account, or it's not my best fit. I want to do the best work for them. And so that I can send them to a CPA that I know or a bookkeeper I know that would be a better fit.
So I'm kind of curious to understand this because I get it to an extent, but maybe for someone watching, this might help them out.
Yeah.
So there's a client, there's a customer timeline, right? There's, unaware of the problem and not solution aware, and then it goes all the way to solution aware, but you're solution aware, and then actively looking for a result. So from the beginning of the problem, like for anyone watching who maybe doesn't think that they need bookkeeping or doesn't know about bookkeeping or the importance of this, like what is your prospect's biggest problem and how do you solve that for them?
So it really is financial understanding. Um, because when you dive into accounting practices and bookkeeping, the process of doing all of that and how to organize it properly there's a lot of small details to it. There's a lot of nuance to it. I've found people that just didn't understand a certain aspect of maybe their cost of goods sold or some of their expenses, and we're not categorizing it properly. And so I've been able to save them thousands of dollars because I said, hey, you're losing money here that you could then write off in taxes at the end, or you're not accounting for X where you should be. Um, so I find a lot of the problem is just a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, and it's not due to any inability on their part as much as it's they've never had to deal with it. They've never had to understand it, and it's not something that's taught in school really or in college unless you're going for a CPA or a finance degree. There are a lot of aspects where if you run a business right and you take care of your finances properly, you will save yourself thousands of dollars in the end. Even outsourcing your bookkeeping, there's CPAs that outsource their books to other CPAs. And the reason why that is because when you get to a threshold in your business where only you can do certain things, but anybody can do, maybe prepping for something or doing the books or running errands for the business. But only you can do, the interviews on the podcast. Only you can do the building of the business. And so once you find that your time is better spent to grow the business as opposed to doing the books, sometimes it's better to outsource it, even if you do understand it. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, don't quite grasp is, I'm going to send it to my CPA at the end of the year and, let them take care of it. But, you talk to just about any CPA, if you give them messy books, you're going to have messy taxes, and if you don't know what's going on in your business month to month, week to week, you're going to miss something that's important that could cost you thousands. So, the biggest hurdle is knowing when is the right time. And I'll be the first one to tell a client, you don't need me right now. Or we only need to be quarterly. You don't need me monthly. And I'll also tell them, hey, look, you're losing money by not spending time in here. I can help you out on a monthly basis to take care of that. So I think those are some of the biggest hurdles, just because it's a thing that you can do. It's a thing that you can push off to the side. But if you don't, it's a tool that you can use to grow.
I think that was well said, man. I think that in my business personally, and from I know a lot of people, like I even had like actually it's interesting you say that. I actually had one of my clients call me the other day and he was complaining about that. He's like, dude, I don't know what to do. I'm in trouble. Like I gotta take care of this because if I don't, then you know things might be an issue in the future. And I think a large portion of that, especially nowadays, for a lot of online businesses or anybody who's doing anything in the online atmosphere, is that besides, supplies for a contracting company or like paying for employees and that sort of thing, the other half of that is, well, now I have to pay for all these tools and tools that maybe you didn't think were so costly that are monthly subscriptions. And so, like, I was even just thinking about it right now. The tools that I have, I mean, I pay for my CRM, my editing softwares, my like video softwares. Like there's all these little softwares that once you start to add everything up after a while, it goes from, oh, well, I thought I was just spending 20 bucks here, 20 bucks there, but I'm actually spending 600, $700 a month on
Right.
little subscriptions that to softwares I don't even use. Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's important to allocate money and resources to fixing your problems. Like I had this kind of, I don't know if it's like an epiphany, but I had this thought yesterday of when you reach an obstacle in your business or in your life, you can only attack that obstacle with resources. And those resources, from what I was able to think of, were time, energy, money, and attention. And some people have like the reason you can't get around those obstacles is because you have certain beliefs about those resources. And so
Right.
once you break those beliefs about the resources, then you can use the resources to attack the obstacle. And so it was like kind of a reverse engineering of like what your problem is. And money is the biggest one that I see has in my life prohibited me from, going around an obstacle, but other people too. And so I know
Yes.
you're big on the financial side of things. That's your job. That's what you do. What beliefs about money do you think are prohibiting people from either getting success in their business or even purchasing, making good purchases? Like for example, hiring a bookkeeper or hiring an advertising team or a new employee or a coach. Like what beliefs about money do you think, maybe even beliefs about money that you've had in your life that have
Right.
changed now that you do bookkeeping? What beliefs have changed?
So I had the fortune of being guided through making sure that I was taking care of my finances on a regular basis from being a teenager through my adult life uh, via different family members that were financially literate and able to help me out. And so for me, I try to make sure that my debt is low on a regular basis, if not nil, and I use other people's money, so to speak. So using credit cards for different things, for online payments, for regular payments, that kind of thing, but then paying that credit card off on a regular basis. And I also take a look at, is this actually worth my money? Is this actually worth my time? Because I spent time to get that money. So is this something that I want, or is this something that I actually need? Do I want it? Well, let me research it and think about it for a week. Do I really need it right now? Okay, well, then I'll go ahead and spend the money on it. And the same applies into business. Uh, if you are growing a business and you need something to grow your business, then you have to find a way to be able to afford that, to be able to grow your business. If you want something because it'll make your business look cool, maybe that's not something you need to spend money on right now. One of the exercises that I use when I'm talking to some of my clients about some, big purchases or things that they want to do in their business is, okay, so let's look at this. If you spend this amount of money, what kind of return on investment will you get? When will you recoup your money from this investment that you made? And will it actually progress through, the next year, 2, 5 years to be able to help you with growing your business? Is this something that you want in your business because it looks nice, or is this something that you need that will actually grow your business? And with that, advertising, bookkeeping, some of these other things, a lot of these things are tax write-offs that people don't realize are tax write-offs. If you're hiring a bookkeeper because it is no longer the best thing in your business for you to be doing, then you can write that off as a part of your legal and finance activities in your business to be able to reduce your taxes at the end of the year. So in the end, you'll recoup. You'll also get the information you need to be able to grow and somebody to be able to talk to, depending on the bookkeeper. That doesn't apply for all bookkeepers. We're not all the same. I have met several people who got burned by CPAs or bookkeepers that said they were going to do certain things and just never really followed through or could never be reached. One of my clients I have right now, actually, they reached out to me because their CPA wasn't answering after a good 2 or 3 weeks, and they needed an answer now about something that was going on in the business. And I was able to help them out with that and then also show them some other problems that were coming up for them. So they said, well, you know what? How about we just work with you and you help us get that resolved? Um, so as far as finances and being able to spend money, there's two views of it. It's scared money doesn't make money, for one, but spending money without knowing what the investment will recoup for you is not wise. It's a poor decision, and you have to, in every industry, it's a nickels and dimes game. Like you were talking about, I have all these different softwares that, some of them I don't use anymore. And those pennies add up. And it's the same thing. Maybe you didn't realize how much you were spending on this. And so somebody can bring that to your attention. Or if you're actually doing your books, you can see that and say, hey, I'm spending too much money here. I need to fix this.
What would you say is too much money for a business to be spending? Like, what percentage would you be like, all right, bro, you got to cut something?
That's a hard question to answer. It really depends on the business model. Um, you want to at least be in the black when you're at the end of the year. You want the business to pay for itself, definitely. And depending on what you're doing with the business, you may be drawing an income from it. And so you need to make sure that you're able to pay yourself as well. As long as you're able to pay yourself and the business pays for itself, then I would say, you're doing fine. If you're wanting to recoup more money, it depends on the goals for the business. It depends on your financial goals. If you want to save up to be able to buy a building, then you need to be setting so much money back. Okay, are you setting that money back? And is that putting you back in your finances? Is that putting you in the red? So it really depends on the business, the goals of the business. Like for my business personally, I want to make money. That's kind of why I have a job. That's kind of why I opened the shop, so to speak. But I want to pay the bills and I want to have a little bit in my savings. And besides that, I'm not too worried. I want to be able to take care of people, take care of clients, and help see them grow because that's what I enjoy doing.
How did you find that? Like, how did you? Because I know, and like, for myself personally, I struggled to figure out what it is that I wanted to do, and I kind of got into it. And I know you were talking about earlier how people get burned from having bad experience with other bookkeepers, and I think the same thing goes, in my space too, because like I'm not gonna lie and say that I had a hard barrier of entry. Now there was a hard barrier, there's a skill gap, but anybody can say I run a marketing agency and like open up doors, right?
Right,
And
right.
so and I think there's also like a message behind it too. People start put in TikToks and Instagram posts about, oh, well, if you start an online business, you'll be making X amount of dollars and you'll be financially free for the rest of your life. And unfortunately, that's not necessarily true. So when I
Yeah.
first got into it, I had that mindset. And it wasn't until 6 months to a year later when I actually started to drop that mindset and really began to care a lot more than I had before about the customers and less about, just making some money. My main concern now, it's completely shifted. My concern is, well, if the customer is getting good results and if we're doing a good job, then I'm happy. But
Mhm.
if we're not doing good, then it's not the same. And so how can how did you find that? Like I know it took me some time to figure out where I was gonna what my purpose was or what made me happy in this business. Like how'd you find that?
It took me a little while to figure out exactly what I enjoyed doing. Um, I wore a lot of different hats. Um, and yeah, the day I got my driver's license is the day I got my first job. And I've been working ever since. In some cases, I worked, 3 jobs at a time to make ends meet for my family. Working 90, 95 hours a week. And in that, I I was a licensed insurance adjuster for Georgia. I did workers' comp input. I'm a huge techie. I've built my entire stack from scratch with military grade encryption for security's sake for the sensitive information I get. And I had all of these different things that I thought I wanted to do because it was a hobby. It was something that I liked. The more I dove into business and the more I was put in charge of, the more I was handling, uh, the more I really realized I like not only helping people get to where they want to be, whether it be, catering or building a business or what have you. But I like helping people get to that moment where they go, "Oh, I get it," and they can then take that and build off of it so that they can be successful. And I've always been a numbers guy, a very tedious numbers, break it down, give me an Excel spreadsheet with thousands cells full, and I'm good kind of person. So once I realized more about what bookkeeping was, a few years ago when I was talking to some other bookkeepers, a friend of mine who's a bookkeeper as well, um, and getting to know how it works and what it was and how it applied to everything that I had already known from building business and managing business. Uh, I got excited about it. And the more I studied it, the more I looked into it, the more excited I got. And I realized that I could do both of these things. I can be organized, I can help people grow while, jumping into numbers and, still having time for my family. So I I found this kind of accidentally. But I also found that it's something I enjoyed, something I love doing, and it's something that really fit me and my family.
That's good, man. That's good. I think that that's very important, and I like the way that you said you had come to find, like you got excited about it, you know,
Right.
and some people might not be in the right business model, if they don't get excited about it. Because I think what probably one of my favorite feelings in the world is when it's shutdown time and you shut it down for the day and you sit back down in your chair and you're like, man, I just want I just like you're just kind of sitting there like, oh, I would love to just open it up. I would love to
Yeah.
open it back up. Sometimes it's hard, man. I sometimes have to catch myself like kind of towards the end of the day, I'll be hanging out with friends or particularly like my girlfriend or my parents, spending time with the people I care about. And sometimes it's hard, man. I do a good job at shutting it off, but sometimes I get like, I'll be, on the phone with my girlfriend or whatever, and we'll be talking, and she can kind of just tell that I'm like semi, on the one hand, I'm like excited that we're talking, I'm having a good time with her, but on the other hand, I'm like, man, I got this meeting tomorrow and I'm really excited about it. Or
Right.
I'm like texting a client, like it's hard, man, to shut that off. And I think if you can't get excited like that, you're in the wrong business.
Absolutely. Even in my previous job before I opened up, I enjoyed the financial back end of it, and to the point where I had a close friend that we meet and we talk every once in a while, and I would just start rattling off about business and business numbers and so forth. And even after that, once I opened up my firm, a lot of the people that I started, hanging out with outside of work, outside of networking and everything, we wind up talking business just because it really is what I enjoy doing. And so we'll talk about, what is it, what would it take to build this business, or what would it take to start this up, or what kind of way could we solve this problem if this was our business, or it is somebody else's business. I'm working on this. Well, have you tried this? Oh, and back and forth, and the lights just come on about all the different ideas that we can do. Not to mention, I'm kind of a night owl, and sometimes I stay up, late at night. And if I don't have anything else to do, sometimes I just peruse through like my books, or I research a topic that I want to know more about with bookkeeping and accounting, just to kind of further my growth and further my ability and the value I can add to the customers that I work for.
That's it. That is so important, man. Is that like when you sit down and you're just focused on not, on your leisure time, you're having conversations about business. You're around people that want to make money or that are making money, and you're around you're watching content, listening to podcasts, and reading books. And I think what's important about that is you've created this atmosphere for success, and you keep thinking about it. And I always use the term. I'm always saying like let's play business. I say that to my friends. I'll be like, come on, bro, like you back in the day, it's like, bro, let's hop on the game, let's play some Call of Duty. Like now it's like let's play business. So I've had times where I go to this networking event in Nashville, and me and my buddy, we get home from that networking event, and we'll have a couple cigars and maybe a drink or two. And so we get back. I'm like, dude, we got so much to talk about. Like, I made these five connections. I had somebody give me this advice that like changed my perspective on this thing. And I think that's the most interesting thing about networking, man, is you meet somebody and you're like, man, I never thought about it that way. And the
Right.
person can help you get so far. Um,
Like either that or they can kind of spark the idea of, oh wow, I haven't ever thought about that. Let me play around with how I could implement that and if it would actually be successful for my model. Or what models would that be successful for? And maybe there's a client that could benefit from this information. You know, I remember being a teenager sitting around with some of my buddies talking about, open up a shop or starting up a food truck in downtown Atlanta.
yeah.
And yeah, so it's like business and management and all of this has been something that I've always enjoyed, but I didn't realize it was something I could enjoy and provide for my family at the same time while doing. Because I I had a job where, before when I was ready to leave to start up Book or Do It, I was paid well, great benefits, but I didn't have the time I wanted with my family. And I really enjoyed the job because I was training people, I was growing people. I was good at it. I knew that I was going to be able to progress in any branch that I wanted to with the company, but it didn't give me the time with my family. And so I knew that it wasn't the right fit long term, and I had to figure out something that was the right fit. And so I took the aspect of that business and opened up Book or Do It that I liked, the aspect of the business that I liked.
I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and talk a bit
Okay.
more. You talked about how you work home now, you work at home, and you now have the time to provide for your family, but also spend time with your family. I think you're the first person that's been on this podcast that works fully from home. And that is something that I can really relate to. And so I kind of want to talk about that a little bit because, I first started, I didn't have a prior job where I was like in the office doing that stuff. My prior jobs were always, restaurants, uh, like little like retail stores or even like package handling. Um, so my previous jobs were never in an office space. And also when I went out on my own, it was my first time to experience living and working without a person telling me to do it. Because if in my life, I know I struggled with it. Like if someone didn't tell me to do it, I just wouldn't do it. And so it took me my first year to establish those principles of like, okay, I got to wake up at this time and I got to work for these amount of hours and I got to do what I got to do. And unfortunately for us, it's like our bed is right next to us or right in the other room. And even now, occasionally I'll catch myself, I'll hit like a good solid 5 hours of deep work.
Mhm.
And then on that 6 hour, I'm just like, oh, dude, let me just pull my phone out for a little bit. And like, how do you deal with that? Because I know that is a hard thing for people like us at home. I think working because when you're out on top of a roof, there's no let me take a nap real quick. Like it's like you gotta do it. When you're out on that roof and like you're doing a roof replacement and you're standing out in that hot sun, tearing those shingles off a roof, there's nothing you can do. But for us, man, it starts to look real nice. It starts to look real nice at about hour 6.
Oh yeah. No, I am a huge gamer. And like I said, I built my stack with my computer from scratch and everything. And um, so I'm a PC gamer. So my games are literally one click away while I'm working.
Let's
So
go.
it, it's a balance. And really the only way to be successful working from home is knowing yourself
Yeah.
and knowing how to work with yourself. Um, I I had a lot of really good mentors growing up and even, throughout my careers. And they taught me some good self-management techniques to make sure that I knew how to manage myself, which also helped me with managing other people. In my previous occupation, I keep talking about my last job, but I was there for 12 years, so it was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I was in charge of 30 plus people on a regular basis, sometimes over 100. And in order to manage people properly and be able to give them the expectations, you have to almost work harder than they do. And in order to do that, you have to find a way to get it out of yourself sometimes when you don't want to. Uh,
Mm.
so I had that opportunity to learn from experience how to manage myself while people were watching, to the point where when I got to being a work from home person on a regular basis, I I was able to manage myself better than I would have previously.
Mm.
Just because I knew myself, I knew what I had to do. And you're right, you're on a roof, you've got to get it done. You're up there to get it done. There are some days where I'm in the middle of work and I'm just in the wrong headspace, and I've got to step back for 30 minutes and do something different. I got to go do the dishes to get some small task completed to build that momentum to do the bigger tasks that I have to do for my job, or straighten up the room, or just walk around the house. Or sometimes I pull back for a few hours and then I'll just get back to it at night when the kids go to bed and wrap up whatever I needed to do. So part of like knowing myself and managing myself is really the only way I've been successful working from home with all of these crazy different distractions that I have around me.
Yeah.
Uh, that, and sometimes I grab the laptop, I go to a coffee shop, and I'll sit there for a few hours just to get out of my normal environment to give me a boost into working at just anywhere else.
I actually don't do that as often as I used to, man.
Yeah,
I catch myself a lot of times. I used to go out and do that kind of work a lot, but I think for the most part, my work is stuff like this. I
right,
make content, I take calls. Most of my work is, I have that 5 hour window in the morning that I usually keep to myself, like from 5 to like 9. That's my time to really anchor in and do what's very important. And the
right.
rest of the day is usually like meetings with customers, meetings with prospects, meetings with other things that I'm doing. And so I can't necessarily go out to coffee shops like I used to, but I used to love doing that, man. That was a good way of getting out the house. Um, I catch myself doing that too, where you just like need to take a step back and instinctively are like, I'm gonna make my bed now. It's out of
Right.
nowhere. It's like I gotta make my bed and I gotta go do this laundry real quick and then I'm gonna sit back down. Sometimes I think I just need space to think too. Like I'll have a good thought and I'm like, okay, I need to elaborate on this and like really let my mind think about this. Um, yeah, man, it's rough. Like it sounds like you had a great opportunity there to get to do that, for 12 years where you had to manage other people. And I think for me, I didn't have a systems thinking approach to things. I didn't understand systems thinking until about a year and a half ago. And um, basically for anyone that doesn't understand what that is, it's like how inputs and processes and outputs and your feedback, it's a loop. It's a feedback loop basically of an entire system and how everything works. And so I would always see myself as a one component and think about my system, but not the rest of the system. And so when I worked at other businesses, like for example, my last job, which I haven't had a 9 to 5 job in a long time, but a long time for me. I'm 22, but when I was 20, I had a job as a server at a restaurant, Sam's Sports Grill here in Murfreesboro.
Yeah,
And I would just say I wasn't the best. And I wasn't the best because I was only thinking about me, not the system, not the customer system, not the business's system. And so when the dishes were there, I was like, I don't want to do the dishes, man. It's not my job, because I didn't understand the system. I think that's important
right.
with hiring too. I've made that mistake with hiring in the past, is like not explaining the system, and of the business, of like your part plays a bigger role in the whole. And so I think that's pretty sick, man, that you had that ability in knowing yourself. Because I didn't know myself for a long time, man. It took me like 6 months to a year to figure it out. And I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say I know myself and I'm perfect or anything, but yeah, it's interesting that you were able to do that.
Well, and you know, I'm you're 22, I'm 34, so uh, I would say even at 34, I'm still learning things about myself on a regular basis, and different ways to uh, get what I need, get the results that I need in order to accomplish the tasks that I have. And I am always changing my processes in personal accountability. Um, from checklists to reminders to note taking and so on. There's always something that I have to back myself up as a reminder to myself. Um, and it's an ever evolving process. It really is. So I got the chance to get it started,
Yeah.
and I've been able to keep the ball rolling.
How do you keep your attention span on the important tasks? Because I know for me, I grew up with I grew up with Instagram. I mean, I not necessarily grew up, but like when I turned 13, Instagram got big, and before that it was like Vine, and then
Right.
TikTok is now a big thing. And my brain has been so used to getting that instant dopamine. I mean, even like video games too, when I was younger, I used to play all the time. And so uh like that dopamine hit was just so pungent. Or is that the right? I think pungent's the right word to use there.
Yeah.
Uh,
We'll roll with it.
yeah, yeah. So potent, that maybe that's what it is.
Right.
It was so potent, and trying to get away from that and doing a 360 into reading books is all like near impossible. I remember when I first started like reading books, I would get like a paragraph in and then I would forget what's going on and then just put the book down like 2 seconds later. Um, and now I can sit down and read for an hour and a half if I want to. It took some time to get there. Like, how are you able to manage your attention? How do you not have that TikTok brain, or like help yourself from staying away from instant gratification and having your focus and attention for important things?
Uh, I so I didn't really lock on to social media. I grew up in the MySpace and Zanga timeframe.
Did
I
you say
had
Sega?
Zanga.
Oh, Zanga. Okay, I
Yeah,
don't even know what that is.
yeah. I don't think it's a thing anymore. It might be. Who knows? But there was no like doomsday scrolling. The touch phones weren't even a thing when I was a teenager. I had a flip phone in high school. So I never really got locked into that, but I am very ADD, so I'm all over the place. And in order to kind of keep myself focused on, um, I will keep track of how I'm working. I have timers that go off on a regular basis to let me know, okay, I should have been done with this by now. If I'm not done with it, why am I not done with it? Am I sitting in the wrong spot? Do I need to go out on the back porch with my laptop to change the environment? And do I need to have a goal for myself? I do this much, and then I'll play a level on a video game, or I'll watch a YouTube video or something like that. And so it's almost like carrot and stick for myself, as long as I can stick to it.
Oh,
um, so keeping focus is definitely it's a challenge for anybody, especially people working from home, because this is your home. You want to, all of a sudden you think about, oh, I was supposed to go do this over here, or I got this in the garage, or my games are over there, or even when my family's home and I still have to work. Sometimes it's hearing them out in the living room while I'm working in my office, and I want to just go out there and join them. Um, but I still have work to do. So, sometimes noise canceling, headphones with some sort of music, or, even instrumental music, animals as leaders, Russian circles, something like that, that, there's no words to it. It's just kind of like keeps the melody, keeps the beat. So you kind of get a rhythm with that as you're working. But once you're in the groove, man, you can't get out of it. That's one thing that I've found. Once I'm in a groove, I I can't get out of it. If I stay in that groove, I will get more work done in 1 hour than I could in five.
Yeah, I get that, man. When you get into that group, that's why, I keep my phone on do not disturb, and I have all these I have set time boundaries for myself and for other things. And so I want people to respect those boundaries. And if they can't, then it's like, look, I get it, but I know you want to go get drunk tonight, but I got stuff to do and I just can't. And if someone can't
Right.
respect it, then they shouldn't be in your life. But more importantly, it's objects for me. I set boundaries with objects. So usually in
Okay.
the morning, uh, like my phone, I have boundaries with the phone. And if the phone can't keep those boundaries, if it and that's obviously falls on me. It's not the phone's fault for me picking it up. But if I can't keep those boundaries in my phone, then I have to go put my phone somewhere else, or I have to go change my environment completely. And so I think that's one thing that's helped me
Yeah,
stick.
it's taking that distraction out of
Yeah,
the equation. If this is something that's bothering me, that's making me like get off track, then let me just get rid of it. Just get
yeah,
get rid of it for a little while so I can get back on.
yeah. I mean, that's what you got to do, and it's hard, but I always like to try and make half life decisions on my time and what I can do. Usually in the morning, I actually don't take any meetings or calls at all, with
Mm,
a few rare exceptions. This is the rare exception because we planned this a week ago. But if it was
right.
like this morning and you were like, dude, let's do it today, I just not, that's my boundary, that's just how it goes. And I know
Right.
that's really helped me a lot. Um, I kind of want to, so we're kind of cutting in on time. I do want to kind of tell you a little bit about how the end of the call works. So basically, I have a question from the last podcast, and I'm going to ask you that somebody had written down, and
Okay.
then you to leave a question for the next person. So
Okay.
my question for you from the last podcast was, what was it like, and how did you feel at your lowest point?
Mm. What was it like and how did I feel at my lowest point? Um, it was very debilitating. Um, I had a successful job, but the world was kind of crumbling around me. And I, I'm a Georgia native. My entire family is from Georgia. Most of my friends are in Georgia. Um, but being in Tennessee, I didn't really have anybody to call. I had one person that I could go see, um, and that was really it. Uh, and because I think my lowest point was probably shortly after I came to Tennessee before I met anybody. And some different things were going on around me. Um, and just feeling that feeling of not being able to be in control, not being able to fix a problem that's sitting right there in front of you. It's the elephant in the room that you just can't get out. It's hard. It's very hard. It was a very trying time for me because I could have gone one of two ways, and um, obviously I went this way, and things got a lot better. Um, the other way would have been a lot worse, and I'm very glad that I was strong enough, and I had people that I could call up on the phone and talk to at night, But I couldn't, go hang out with them, see them get that physical support that I felt like I needed at the time. But it could have been a lot worse than it was, and I'm glad that I had the support structure that I had for people to talk to on the phone, um, that were able to kind of get me out of where I was.
I kind of have a follow-up question with that.
Okay.
How did you overcome that, your lowest point?
Well, like I said, the support structure that I had, the friends and the family that, would pick up the phone at midnight when, I couldn't sleep and I was breaking down. They would talk to me. They would, kind of help me out with what was going on and help me see a good perspective. Um, but as that progressed, I started realizing what I was doing to myself and putting myself down in there. Because yeah, the situation happened for what it was, but it didn't have to stay that way. I don't have to stay that way. And so I slowly tried to make small changes in my life that would pull me out of the depression, the low point, and get me more physically active, make myself more healthy. Um, get away from some of the different temptations that are just escapes, the that don't mean anything, that won't do anything to help the actual situation. It'll just make you feel a little bit better for now. So I had to make a conscious effort to get out of it. And I was able to do that because of the people that I could talk to, people that I could call.
It's very well said, man. And I think it's good that you were able to have that group of people there for you. Where some people, man, they don't have that, and that's really
Yeah,
rough. Um, it's very interesting. I like what you had to say, man. But that kind of wraps it up. Where can the audience find you?
so you can find me on online if you want to go to www.bookerdoit.com. That's my website. I've got a calendar on there if you want to schedule up something just to have a conversation and talk. Of course, I've got all my contact info on there. You can call, email, text, any time of day. If I'm sleeping, I put it on silent, so I'll answer in the morning. But that's the main one. If you wanna have a one-on-one, if you need diagnostic done for your books, if you need any support or just want to bounce some ideas off, be happy to talk. So check out the website and give me a call.
Well, thank you, Michael, for joining the call, man. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed our conversation, and
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
hope to have you on the show again, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.